It was a quiet morning in the wealthy neighborhood where the billionaire lived. The streets were calm, lined with tall trees, and the sun shone softly over the perfectly trimmed gardens. Birds chirped in the distance, and everything seemed peaceful, almost like nothing could ever go wrong. But in the backyard of the large mansion, something unexpected was about to happen. The billionaire's young son, a sweet boy with bright eyes, was playing near the garden path. He was different from other children. He was disabled, which meant he could not walk easily like other kids. He used a small cane to help him move, and every step took a little more effort and concentration. But today he was happy and determined to play on his own. Even if it was just a few steps around the muddy path near the flower beds. The path had been muddy from the rain the night before. The ground was soft and wet, and puddles formed in uneven spots. The boy loved the mud because it felt funny under his small shoes. He giggled as he stepped cautiously, making little splashes. The air smelled fresh and earthy, a smell he had always enjoyed. He was curious and excited, wanting to explore every corner of the garden. Inside the house, the billionaire was busy with work. His office overlooked the garden, but he was completely absorbed in his computer and phone calls. He had important meetings, decisions, and deals to handle. He was successful and powerful, but at that moment, he did not notice his son playing outside. The little boy was safe for now. But the situation was about to change. The boy took a few more steps, carefully moving around the puddles. He smiled at the flowers swaying in the wind and listened to the distant sounds of the city waking up. He felt proud that he could move on his own, even if just for a little while. He had learned to be independent despite his disability. He loved moments, weeks turned into months, and the connection between the boy, the woman, and the billionaire grew deeper. Every morning, the boy would wait excitedly for her arrival. He would run to greet her, laughing and holding her hands as she led him safely around the garden. Each day was filled with simple joys, watching the birds, feeling the sun on their faces, and sharing little stories about life. She treated him as if nothing were impossible, encouraging his curiosity and helping him explore the world around him. The billionaire watched silently from a distance at first, but gradually he began to spend more time with both of them. He noticed the joy and confidence his son was gaining. He also began to reflect on the lessons the woman had taught them without even speaking. Her actions were powerful. Courage, patience, kindness, and humility all demonstrated in a way that money could never buy. One day, the billionaire invited the woman into his home. She hesitated at first, unsure if she belonged in such a luxurious place. Her hands trembled slightly and she looked around with cautious eyes. The billionaire welcomed her warmly, making it clear that her presence was valued and respected. She smiled, shy but grateful, and followed him into a small sitting room where the boy played with his toys as they sat together. The billionaire gently asked about her life, her dreams, and her struggles. She spoke honestly, describing the long hours of work, the challenges of raising a family with little money, and the small victories that brought her joy. She did not ask for help. She simply shared her story with humility and honesty. The billionaire listened intently, feeling a growing admiration and respect. He realized that, despite the hardships, she had maintained her integrity and humanity. The boy sat close to her, holding her hand and looking up at her with trust and love. He had learned so much from her already. He had learned to be brave, to try new things, and to see the world with curiosity and hope. He had learned that people could show kindness without expecting anything in return. Her presence had changed him, making him more confident and happy than he had ever been. Over the next few days, the billionaire quietly made arrangements to help her without embarrassing her. He provided small improvements to her home, made sure her family had enough food, and arranged for her children to receive education and care. He did this discreetly, respecting her pride and independence. He wanted her to continue living with dignity while easing some of the burdens she carried every day. The woman noticed the changes in her life, but did not immediately connect them to the billionaire. She felt grateful for the small comforts and improvements, but she continued her work and daily routine as always. Her humility remained unchanged. She continued to care for the boy, teaching him, guiding him, and supporting him with the same selfless dedication. Her focus was always on helping others, not on receiving recognition. The billionaire watched as the bond between the boy and the woman grew stronger. He saw how naturally she interacted with him, how she encouraged him, and how she treated him with love and respect. He realized that her influence was shaping the boy's character in ways that no school, toy, or material gift ever could. Her kindness had a lasting impact, teaching lessons of courage, empathy, and resilience. One afternoon, the woman helped the boy navigate a small obstacle in the garden, a fallen branch that had blocked his path. She knelt down, explaining patiently how to step over it safely. The boy listened carefully, following her guidance and feeling proud when he succeeded. The billionaire observed quietly, understanding that this was more than a simple lesson in safety. It was a lesson in life, how to face challenges, overcome fear, and learn through experience. As the days went by, the billionaire began to reflect on his own life. He had always been busy with work, focused on wealth and power. But he realized that true richness came from compassion, care, and human connection. The woman's actions had reminded him of the importance of these values. He began to spend more time with his son, learning from her example, and discovering the joy of simple, meaningful moments. The boy continued to thrive under her guidance. He laughed more, explored more, and approached life with confidence. The woman encouraged him to try new things, to be brave, and to express himself. She celebrated his small victories and comforted him when he stumbled. Her patience and care created a safe space for him to grow, and he responded with trust and affection. The neighborhood began to notice the changes as well. People admired the woman's courage and kindness, and they saw how much she had impacted the boy's life. Some even started helping her in small ways, inspired by her example. Her influence extended beyond the boy and the billionaire, touching the community with the power of selfless acts and human compassion. One evening, the billionaire reflected on the journey so far. He saw how much the boy had grown, how confident and happy he had become. And he realized that the woman had played a central role in this transformation. He felt deep gratitude and respect, understanding that her presence had changed their lives forever. Her actions had taught him that true wealth is not measured in money, but in love, courage, and the ability to make a positive difference. The woman continued to visit, always humble and giving, without seeking recognition. She had become a trusted figure in the boy's life, a source of comfort, guidance, and joy. The billionaire continued to support her quietly, ensuring her family had what they needed while respecting her dignity. Together, they had formed a bond that transcended wealth, status, and circumstance, built on genuine care and human connection. The boy learned important lessons each day: trust, empathy, bravery, and kindness. The billionaire rediscovered values he had long forgotten, inspired by her courage and generosity. The woman, despite her struggles, continued to give, demonstrating the power of selfless love. Their lives were intertwined in a way that created lasting change, showing that even the simplest acts of kindness could shape the future in profound ways. As the sun set over the neighborhood, the three of them shared a quiet moment in the garden. The boy laughed as the woman gently helped him explore the last puddles of the day. The billionaire watched, feeling grateful and inspired, realizing that wealth was not in money or possessions, but in the heart. The woman's actions had shown them the true meaning of generosity, courage, and human connection. Leaving a mark that would remain in their lives forever, the days turned into months, and the bond between the boy, the woman, and the billionaire deepened in ways that no one could have predicted. Every morning, the boy ran excitedly to meet the woman who had changed his life. She greeted him with a gentle smile and held his hands carefully as they explored the garden together. The boy laughed freely, confident in her presence, and even attempted small challenges that he had once found impossible. Her encouragement and guidance had given him courage, and every little victory made him more determined to grow and learn. The billionaire observed these moments quietly. He felt gratitude that could not be measured in words. Watching his son laugh, learn, and play under the guidance of someone who genuinely cared was more valuable. than any business deal or financial success he had achieved. He reflected on the lessons the woman had taught, not with words, but through her actions. Patience, courage, humility, and kindness were values he had once forgotten in the rush of life. But now they were vivid and real, shown through her every move. The woman had become a part of their lives in a way that went beyond simple acts of help. She had created a space where the boy felt free to express himself, to explore, and to grow without fear. She taught him to notice the small things around him, the birds, the flowers, the way sunlight danced across the garden. She encouraged him to ask questions, to be curious, and to think for himself. Her lessons were simple, yet profound, shaping the boy's mind and heart in ways that no toy or gadget could. One afternoon, the billionaire decided it was time to take the woman's story further. He invited her to a quiet conversation in the study, a place filled with books and sunlight. He wanted to understand her life fully and offer help without compromising her dignity. She entered cautiously, as she had always been humble and respectful. But he greeted her warmly, assuring her that she was valued and appreciated. He asked gently about her family, her daily work, and her dreams. She spoke honestly, describing the long hours, the challenges, and the small joys that made her life meaningful. She had no complaints, only stories of perseverance and love. The billionaire listened, captivated by her honesty and humility. He realized that she had taught him a lesson he could never have learned from wealth or experience alone. True greatness comes from heart, not status. The billionaire decided to offer her help quietly and respectfully. He provided educational support for her children, improved living conditions, and ensured her family's basic needs were met. He did this with discretion, not wanting her to feel indebted or embarrassed. She accepted the help with quiet gratitude, but remained focused on her own work and her care for the boy. Her humility and dignity never wavered. Despite the changes in her life, the boy continued to spend time with her every day. They played games, explored the garden, and talked about life in a way that brought joy and laughter. The boy learned patience, courage, and empathy from her. He faced challenges, small and large, with her support and guidance, growing more confident and capable each day. She celebrated his successes and comforted him during small failures, teaching him that mistakes were part of learning and life. One day, as they walked near the edge of the garden, the boy slipped on a muddy patch again. The woman reacted instantly, steadying him and guiding him to safe ground. She spoke softly, reminding him to be careful, but also to be brave. The billionaire, observing from the side, felt a deep sense of gratitude and admiration. He realized that her presence was more than helpful. It was transformative. She had become an essential part of their lives, shaping the boy's character and inspiring him to face the world with courage. The woman's visits continued, and she became more comfortable with the family. She was never concerned with wealth or luxury. Her focus was always on helping, teaching, and caring. Her humility and generosity inspired the billionaire to reflect on his own life. He began to spend more time with his son in the garden, learning from the woman's example and discovering the joy of simple, meaningful moments. Together, they celebrated the little victories, the shared laughter, and the growing bond between them. As the seasons changed, the boy grew stronger and more independent. The woman encouraged him to try new things, to face challenges, and to believe in himself. Her guidance was steady and nurturing, always focused on growth and understanding. She had become a mentor, a friend, and a source of inspiration for the boy. The billionaire watched with pride and gratitude, recognizing the profound impact she had on his son's life. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, the three of them sat together in the garden. The boy laughed as the woman pointed out the patterns in the clouds and the movements of the birds. The billionaire joined in, enjoying the simple joy of the moment. He felt a sense of peace and fulfillment that no amount of wealth could provide. He understood that the true treasure in life was not money or status, but the love, care, and connection shared between people. The woman had not only changed the boy's life, but also transformed the billionaire's perspective. He had learned that real wealth comes from human connection, empathy, and selfless acts of kindness. He had been reminded of the importance of taking time to care for others, of teaching values through actions, and of appreciating the small moments that make life meaningful. The boy grew up surrounded by this love and guidance, learning lessons that would stay with him forever. He understood courage, patience, humility, and the importance of helping others. He remembered the woman who had lifted him from the mud, who had shown him that even in difficult times, kindness could shine through. Her influence became a cornerstone of his character, shaping the way he viewed the world and interacted with others. The billionaire continued to support the woman discreetly, ensuring that her family was taken care of while respecting her independence and pride. He had learned that true generosity is not about showing off wealth, but about understanding the needs of others and offering support in ways that honor their dignity. Together, they had created a life of quiet, meaningful impact, touching not only their immediate circle, but inspiring others around them. The story of the boy and the woman spread quietly through the neighborhood, not as a tale of wealth and poverty, but as a story of courage, kindness, and human connection. People admired the woman for her selfless actions and were inspired to be more compassionate in their own lives. The billionaire had discovered that sometimes the most profound lessons come from those with the least, and the greatest gifts are the acts of love and care that cost nothing but heart. Years later, the boy looked back on those days with gratitude and warmth. He remembered the woman who had changed his life, who had shown him courage, kindness, and the power of a generous heart. The billionaire remembered the lessons she had taught him, the way she had reminded him of what truly mattered. Their lives were forever changed, not by wealth or status, but by a single, unselfish act that had grown into a bond of love, trust, and human connection. And so, the story ended with a quiet truth, that the simplest acts of kindness can have the greatest impact. A poor woman's courage and selfless heart had transformed the life of a disabled boy and inspired the billionaire to see the world differently. Their lives were intertwined by care, love, and understanding, and the lessons they learned together would last forever, reminding them that true wealth is found in the heart, in empathy, and in the courage to act when it matters most. This when he could enjoy the world on his terms. But suddenly, his foot slipped. The mud was slippery, and he lost his balance. His small hands flailed, trying to grab onto something, but there was nothing nearby to hold. He fell forward and landed in a large puddle. Mud splashed around him, soaking his clothes and covering his small hands and face. He gasped in shock and fear. The boy cried out for help, his voice echoing slightly in the quiet morning. For a moment he struggled to get up. The mud was thick, making it difficult to move. His little legs sank slightly, and he felt scared. He wanted his father to come, but the billionaire was still inside, unaware of what had happened. The boy felt alone, even though he had been playing in a place he knew well. The fear in his eyes grew as he realized he could not get out on his own. Just as he began to panic, a figure appeared from the nearby road. A woman was walking by, carrying a small basket of groceries. She was poor and dressed in simple clothes that had seen many days of hard work. Her hands were rough, her shoes worn, and her face showed the signs of struggle, but her eyes were kind and alert. She noticed the boy immediately, and without hesitation, she ran toward him. The woman did not stop to think about her own comfort. She did not care about the mud or the messy clothes she might get. All she could see was a child in trouble. She reached the boy in seconds, crouched down beside him, and gently lifted him out of the puddle. Her hands were firm but careful, making sure not to hurt him. She spoke softly, calming him, telling him it was okay, that he was safe now. The boy looked up at her, eyes wide with surprise and gratitude. He did not know who she was, but he felt a sense of comfort and safety. The woman wiped the mud from his face with her hands, not caring that her fingers got dirty. She checked his legs and clothes to make sure he was not hurt. Her kindness was simple but extraordinary, a natural reaction from someone who cared deeply about others. The billionaire, hearing the commotion, stepped out onto the balcony just in time to see the woman helping his son. His heart skipped a beat. He had been so busy with work that he had not noticed his son's fall. He was shocked to see a stranger, a poor woman, lifting his child out of the mud and cleaning him with such care. For a moment, he could only watch, speechless. The woman did not ask for anything in return. She did not look at him with expectation or demand. She smiled gently at the boy, making sure he felt safe and comforted. The boy hugged her small hands, feeling warmth and love from someone he had just met. The billionaire felt a strange mix of emotions: gratitude, admiration, and curiosity. Who was this woman? How could someone so poor show such kindness and courage? He walked down quickly, trying not to rush and scare the boy. He approached the woman and offered her his hand, but she politely refused. She said, "I was just helping a child in need. That is all." Her words were simple but powerful. They carried honesty and humility. She did not need money or praise. She only wanted to help. The billionaire looked at her more closely. She had dirt on her clothes, her hair was messy from running, but her eyes shone with purity and goodness. He realized that true kindness does not depend on wealth or status. He watched as she reassured his son, speaking softly, making him smile again. The boy laughed a little, his fear forgotten, feeling safe in the woman's presence. The woman stayed with the boy until he could stand properly on his own. She held his hand and helped him walk slowly, making sure he did not slip again. The billionaire followed quietly, still in awe. He wanted to thank her, but he did not want to embarrass her or make her feel uncomfortable. Her actions had been selfless, and he respected that. Finally, the boy was clean enough and stable on his feet. He looked at the woman and hugged her again, a small gesture of gratitude and trust. The billionaire knelt beside his son, touched by the bond between them. He realized that this woman had done what he could not. She had given his son immediate safety, comfort, and care without thinking of himself or money. The woman smiled one last time at the boy, nodded politely to the billionaire, and continued on her way. She returned to her daily life, carrying her groceries and walking toward her humble home. She had no idea that her simple act of kindness had left a lasting impression on a billionaire and his child. She did not seek recognition, but she had changed lives without even knowing it. The billionaire watched her disappear into the distance. He felt a deep sense of respect and humility. He picked up his son, hugged him tightly, and whispered words of comfort. The boy snuggled against his father, still smiling, still amazed by the woman's kindness. The billionaire promised himself that he would learn from this moment. True generosity and courage do not come from money or power, they come from the heart. The day continued, but the event in the garden stayed in their minds. The boy kept talking about the woman who helped him, the gentle hands, the kind voice, and the warmth he felt. He could not understand why someone would help him without wanting anything in return, but he remembered it with happiness. The billionaire, too, could not forget. He felt inspired, thinking about how he could help others and recognize the true value of compassion. By the evening, the garden was calm again. The mud had dried a little, and the boy played safely near the house, with his father close by. The memory of the morning lingered, a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can make a big difference. The billionaire knew that life could be unpredictable, but the heart of a good person could bring light even to unexpected moments. And so, the day ended with gratitude, reflection, and a quiet understanding that wealth and power were not the only things that mattered. A poor woman, by simply helping a child in need, had shown them both the meaning of true kindness, courage, and human connection. The boy would remember it forever, and so would his father, who learned that sometimes the most important lessons in life come from the most unexpected places. The next morning, the billionaire could not stop thinking about what had happened in the garden. The memory of the poor woman lifting his son out of the mud stayed in his mind. He thought about how calm and gentle she had been, how she had not cared about the dirt or the hard work it took to help someone in need. He had seen many people in his life, but he had rarely seen someone act purely out of kindness, without expecting anything in return. The young boy, still excited about yesterday's adventure, ran to the garden early in the morning. He wanted to play again, but he kept glancing toward the road, hoping to see the woman who had helped him. He did not fully understand why she had made him feel safe and happy, but he remembered her warmth and kindness. He wanted to see her again, even for a brief moment. The billionaire Seeing his son's curiosity and longing felt a strange feeling. He realized that the boy's happiness mattered more than the work he had to do. He decided to step outside and watch over him, making sure nothing bad would happen. He wanted to see if fate would bring the woman back, as though she had been sent to teach them both an important lesson. Meanwhile, the woman was far away in her small neighborhood. She had returned home after helping the boy, carrying her groceries and finishing her daily chores. Her life was hard, filled with struggles that most people could not imagine. She woke up before dawn every day to do work that barely paid enough to feed her family. She cleaned houses, ran errands, and did small jobs to survive. Yet, despite the hardships, she had a heart that cared for others more than herself. That morning, she thought briefly about the boy she had helped. She smiled, remembering his little hands and bright eyes, and the way he had hugged her with trust and gratitude. It warmed her heart, but she quickly pushed the thoughts aside, knowing she had chores to finish and a family to take care of. Life demanded attention, and she could not linger in memories, even happy ones. Still, deep inside, she felt satisfied that she had made a difference, however small. Back in the mansion, the billionaire's curiosity grew stronger. He had never met anyone like her. He wondered about her life, her struggles, and how someone with so little could show so much courage. His business experience had taught him to notice talent and value, but this was different. This was about character, heart, and humanity. He could not forget the way she had moved quickly, carefully, and gently toward his son, without fear or hesitation. He decided to find out more about her. He did not want to force her or make her feel uncomfortable. He wanted to learn about her life respectfully, to understand what made her act with such kindness. He began asking discreet questions from people in the neighborhood, hoping to find her without causing attention or embarrassment. His mind was full of curiosity, but also admiration. Meanwhile, the young boy played near the muddy path again, carefully stepping around puddles. He giggled as he moved, remembering the funny sensation of the mud on his shoes. He still felt a little nervous, but the memory of the woman's care gave him courage. He imagined her smiling, encouraging him, and it made him feel braver. He wanted to experience the same comfort again, even if it was just for a moment. Later in the day, as he played, the woman appeared again. She had come to run an errand nearby and noticed the boy outside. She paused for a moment, unsure if she should approach, but seeing him smile and play reminded her of yesterday. She felt compelled to check on him, to make sure he was safe. Her steps were cautious, but she approached gently, keeping a distance at first. The boy's eyes widened when he saw her. He ran toward her slowly, careful with his movements, and called out softly, "You came back." His voice was full of joy and surprise. The woman smiled warmly, kneeling down to greet him. "I just wanted to make sure you were safe," she said softly. Her eyes showed care and concern, and the boy felt a sense of happiness he could not explain. The billionaire, watching from the balcony, felt a mix of relief and admiration. He could see how the boy's face lit up, how he trusted the woman completely, and how naturally she cared for him. It was a simple scene, but it carried deep meaning. The woman's presence was a reminder that goodness could exist even in the hardest circumstances, and that it did not depend on wealth or status. The woman stayed with the boy for a while, helping him navigate the muddy path safely. They laughed together, talked softly, and enjoyed the morning in a way that seemed timeless. The boy felt protected and happy, and the woman felt fulfilled, knowing she had made a positive difference. It was a quiet, meaningful connection, one that required no words about money or power, okay? Only care and attention. After some time, the woman stood up to leave, knowing she could not stay too long. The boy's smile faded slightly, but he waved goodbye, feeling grateful. "Thank you for helping me yesterday and today," he said sincerely. The woman nodded, smiling gently. "Take care of yourself. Always be careful, little one." Her words were simple but filled with warmth. As she walked away, the billionaire descended to meet her. He wanted to speak to her, to understand her story, and offer help if she needed it. He approached with respect and humility, acknowledging her courage and kindness. "I want to know more about you," he said. "You showed great care for my son, and I want to make sure you are safe too." The woman looked at him cautiously but listened. She had never expected anything like this from a wealthy man. Most people in her life had looked past her, ignored her struggles, or judged her by her appearance. Yet here was someone who wanted to understand and appreciate her character. She told him briefly about her life, the challenges she faced, and the work she did to support her family. Her voice was calm, honest, and unwavering. She did not seek sympathy, only shared her story truthfully. The billionaire listened carefully, feeling respect and admiration grow inside him. Her life was hard, yet her heart remained pure, full of care for others, even when she had so little. The boy watched the conversation, feeling proud of the woman who had helped him. He realized that her kindness was rare, and he wanted to be like her when he grew older. Brave and helpful, even when life was difficult. The billionaire felt a sense of responsibility and inspiration. He realized that meeting this woman was a life-changing moment, one that could teach him about true compassion and generosity. By the afternoon, the woman had returned to her home. She continued with her daily tasks, but her heart felt lighter and warmer from the connection she had made. The boy played happily under his father's watchful eyes, remembering the woman and the joy she had brought. The billionaire planned quietly how he could support her, without embarrassing her or making her feel uncomfortable. He wanted her to keep her dignity, while also easing some of the burdens of her life. The day ended with a quiet understanding between all of them. The boy felt safe and happy. The woman felt content and appreciated, and the billionaire felt inspired and grateful. It was a simple day, but it carried lessons about kindness, courage, and the strength of the human heart. The connection between them had begun, and it promised to grow in ways that would change their lives forever. The wealthy man had learned that real wealth is not measured in money, but in the goodness and courage of people who act from the heart. Days passed, and the memory of the woman's kindness stayed with the billionaire, his son, and even the neighbors who had witnessed the event from afar. The boy could not stop talking about her, describing her gentle hands and the warmth in her eyes. Every time he spoke of her, his father listened carefully, trying to understand the depth of the connection. It was clear that this was not just a simple act of help, but a meaningful moment that had touched both their lives. The billionaire began to think about the woman's life more deeply. He had always believed that money and power could solve most problems, but this encounter reminded him that true courage and kindness come from the heart, not from wealth. He realized that the world he lived in was full of comfort and ease, but it lacked the simple human connection that the woman had shown. Her actions had reminded him of what really mattered: empathy, care, and genuine concern for others. The boy spent his mornings playing in the garden, but he always kept an eye on the road, hoping to see her again. Each time she appeared, he would run toward her slowly, his face lighting up with a smile that reflected pure joy. She would kneel down to his level, checking on him and making sure he was safe. They did not need many words. Their bond was built on trust, care, and shared moments. Simple, yet deeply meaningful. The billionaire watched these interactions quietly, observing how naturally the woman cared for his son. She did not hesitate or think twice. Her heart was pure, and her actions spoke louder than any words. He felt a mix of admiration, gratitude, and curiosity. He wanted to know more about her life, her struggles, and how someone with so little could show such immense kindness. He began discreetly visiting the area where she lived. Learning more about her life without intruding, he discovered that she worked tirelessly to support her family, taking on long hours of physical labor and still finding time to help others whenever she could. Her home was small and humble, but it was filled with love and resilience. Despite her hardships, she remained humble and generous, qualities that seemed rare in the world around her. The boy, meanwhile, grew more attached to her. He enjoyed her presence, her gentle words, and her careful guidance. She had a way of making him feel safe and understood, something that even the most luxurious surroundings could not provide. He would share little stories and laugh with her, feeling free and happy in her company. She listened patiently, encouraging him to explore, to learn, and to be brave despite his disability. The billionaire realized that this connection was not only beneficial for his son, but also for himself. He had been so consumed with business and wealth that he had forgotten the simple joys of life, the laughter of a child. the selfless act of helping someone in need, and the beauty of genuine human relationships. The woman had reminded him of values that money could not buy. One afternoon, a sudden problem arose in the garden. The boy had wandered too close to a slippery patch near the old fountain, and he lost his balance again. His father rushed toward him, but the woman who was passing by reacted instantly. She ran to the boy, holding out her hands and steadying him before he could fall completely. Her reflexes were quick, precise, and full of care. She guided him to a safe spot and made sure he was okay before looking at the billionaire, who would reach them moments later. The billionaire's heart swelled with gratitude and amazement. He saw once more how naturally she acted in a moment of crisis. Her courage, quick thinking, and care for his son left a deep impression. He realized that her presence was not just a coincidence. She had become an integral part of his son's life. Someone who offered love and protection without expecting anything in return. After that incident, the billionaire decided to talk to her openly about her life. He approached her with respect and humility, asking about her family, her work, and her dreams. She spoke honestly and simply, sharing her daily struggles and the small joys she found in helping others. She did not complain or ask for help. She only wanted to explain her situation and continue her work as best she could. He listened attentively, feeling inspired and motivated. He realized that her strength and resilience were extraordinary. Despite living in poverty, she had maintained her dignity and generosity. Her actions had taught him valuable lessons about humanity, compassion, and the importance of helping others without expecting anything in return. The boy continued to spend time with her, learning from her kindness and patience. They played games, explored the garden, and talked about simple things like flowers, birds, and the weather. The woman encouraged him to be curious, brave, and thoughtful. She treated him like a normal child, not limiting him because of his disability, but supporting his efforts and celebrating his small victories. The billionaire observed these moments, feeling a deep sense of connection to both of them. He realized that true wealth was measured not by money or possessions, but by the love and care one could give and receive. The woman had shown him that human connection, compassion, courage were more valuable than any fortune. As days turned into weeks, the bond between the boy and the woman grew stronger. She became a part of their lives, visiting often, helping him learn, play, and navigate challenges. She remained humble, never asking for recognition or reward, only giving her time, care, and heart. The billionaire felt inspired to support her quietly, respecting her dignity while easing some of the burdens of her life. The neighborhood began to notice the unusual connection. People were amazed at how someone so poor could have such a positive influence on the son of a billionaire. They admired her courage, kindness, and humility. She had shown that even in difficult circumstances, a person could make a significant difference through simple, selfless acts. One evening, the billionaire reflected on the changes this woman had brought into their lives. His son was happier, more confident, and more curious about the world. The boy had learned lessons about trust, courage, and kindness directly from someone who lived them every day. The billionaire himself had been reminded of values he had long forgotten in his busy, wealthy life. The woman continued her visits, always humble, always giving. She never sought recognition, only the simple joy of helping. Her actions had created a lasting impact, shaping the boy's character and inspiring his father. Together, they had formed a bond that transcended wealth, status, and circumstance, built on care, compassion, and human connection. And so, life continued with small, meaningful moments. The boy learned, played, and grew under the guidance of someone who truly cared. The billionaire observed, learned, and felt gratitude. The woman carried on her daily life, quietly changing the world for one child and, indirectly, for the man who had much but had learned what real richness meant. Each day brought new lessons, new laughter, and new connections, showing that true wealth lies in the heart and in the courage to act with kindness.